What's up guys? In today's video, I'll be giving you all the best settings for Black Ops 6. These settings will increase your FPS, lower your input delay, they'll make it easier to aim and see other players, it'll make your movement a lot better, and it'll just overall give you a big competitive advantage. I'll be going over all the in-game settings and keybinds. Then I'll talk about the config file a little bit to boost your FPS and visibility even more. So let's just get into it. We're going to start off in the graphics tab because that's what most people are interested in. For display mode, I always recommend running full screen exclusive. For screen refresh rate, set this to your monitor's native refresh rate, so whatever the highest option is. For display resolution, just choose your monitor's native resolution. Unless you're playing stretch res, but that'll be in another video. But I have a 1080p monitor, so I choose a 1920 by 1080. Display gamma, make sure it's on 2.2, then gamma and brightness. I like to play a little bit higher brightness in this game, but I found that 80 is pretty good for bringing up a lot of those darker areas and shadows. NVIDIA reflex, make sure this is set to at least on. I wouldn't recommend on plus boost in this game, except for a few specific cases. Turn the VSync off. Eco mode I have set to custom. Custom frame rate, I have mine unlimited, just because I want the most FPS and least amount of delay at all times. And none of this stuff really matters, so I just turned it all off. Now we'll head over to the quality tab. Make sure your render resolution is set to 100, dynamic resolution off. For upscaling and sharpening, use Fidelity FX CAS. This adds a really nice sharpening filter over your game and helps you see a lot better. I run mine at 100 strength, just because I want my game to be as clear and sharp as possible. VRAM scale target, I have it set to the lowest. It does help with my FPS just a tiny bit. Variable rate shading, I have this on because this helps my FPS a lot. It uses lower quality textures on the outside of your screen and your peripheral vision, but it's not something that you can actually notice in game. For texture resolution, I have this set to normal. You can run this on very low if you want the absolute best FPS, but it does make your textures look pretty bad. Normal is the highest you need to go to get good textures in this game and make your camos look good. Texture filtering, I have mine low because I don't really care about this. My textures already look good enough for me, but you can turn this up a little bit if you want. It doesn't hurt your FPS too bad. And then every other setting in here, you want to turn this off or lowest. Just about every single setting in here will hurt your FPS and visibility. On-demand texture streaming, make sure you set this to minimal. If you guys do really care about how your game looks, you could turn shadow quality up to normal. It'll make it so you don't have the blocky shadows, but it will hurt your FPS a little bit. Now let's go over to the view tab. For FOV, I like playing 120. I prefer high FOV. It makes aiming feel easier and it makes my movement feel better. You also get more visual information. High FOV is really good if you're a fast-paced player and you're playing for clips and stuff like that. Or if you're playing Warzone, it's going to be the best. But most pros and competitive players in this game play anywhere from 100 to 115. So if you're playing the game competitively, I'd probably drop it down a little bit in that range. ADS field of view, you want this unaffected. Weapon field of view wide, third person FOV 90, and vehicle field of view wide. For camera options, turn all the blur off, put your camera movement to the least on both of these. And then you can turn inverted flashbang on if you want. It'll just make your screen go black instead of white when you get flashbang. Now let's go over to the keyboard and mouse tab. For my mouse settings, I play a 5 cents at 800 DPI. That's about 34 centimeters per through 60. It's a pretty good middle ground. If you're on 800 DPI, I'd recommend playing anywhere from 4 to 6. In 1600 DPI, that would be anywhere from 2 to 3. ADS sense multiplier, I like 0.9. This just feels good for me to use. Anywhere from 0.85 to 1.0 I like. None of this stuff really matters. Mouse advanced settings, ADS sensitivity transition. I'm using gradual now. I usually use after zoom, but both are good. ADS sensitivity type, make sure this is on relative. And I use a monitor distance coefficient of 1.33, just the default. And mouse calibration, I just have all of these on the lowest. You don't want mouse smoothing. You don't want any acceleration or filtering. Now we'll go to the keybinds tab. Keybinds are mostly personal preference, but these are all mine if you guys are interested. There are just a couple that I want to talk about. I like to have my jump and mantle on mouse wheel down. I use next weapon on 1 and 2. I could just press either one to go to each of my guns. I could press 1 twice or I could press 2 twice. This just helped me a lot in Warzone. I also like to have interact on scroll wheel. It doesn't so much help in multiplayer as it does in Warzone because you can pick up loot really fast with it. Combat advanced keybinds. I have previous weapon on C, so I can also use C to switch weapons and YY with it. And then here's my score streak binds. Now let's head to the movement tab. There's a lot of important stuff here to talk about. So sprint assist, you want to have this on. I wouldn't recommend using tactical sprint assist. This is auto tac sprint. It takes a really long time to shoot coming out of tac sprint, so just set this to on. Set your sprint assist delay to 0 and then turn sideways and backward assist on. Turn mantle assist off. You don't want it to automatically be mantling for you. And crouch assist, I have this off as well. I tested this a little bit and it's pretty buggy. It works sometimes, but sometimes it just doesn't work at all. Corner slice, I have this off as well because I don't want my weapon to be turning sideways. Crouch behavior, I have on hold. Prone on toggle. I use toggle sprint. Sprint restore, turn this on. Slide maintain sprint, turn this on. Those are both important. Auto door peek is off. The mantle cancel reload, you want this off as well. Now for the movement advanced settings. These don't really matter here, but I do like to have grounded mantle on. It makes mantling manseling way easier, especially chaining your mansels. It's just way faster with this option on, but you do kind of have to get used to it. Slide dive activation, I have it on independent. Tactical sprint activation, you want this on single tap run. This ties in really well with the sprint assist. Plunging underwater, set this to free, and sprinting door bash, you want this on. And then these don't really matter. Now go to the combat tab. ADS behavior, I like hold, interact, press, and then dedicated melee weapon, I like this on hold melee. And combat advanced settings, these are on mine. None of these are really too important, except sprint cancels reload, you want that off, and depleted ammo weapon switch, you want that off. Armor plate behavior, apply all. Manual fire behavior is important, you want this on press. And overlay advanced settings, I do like to have my ping wheel delay on the longest. Now we'll head over to the audio tab. I usually play with my volume on 100. I turn music volume all the way down. I turn dialogue volume down a little bit. Effects, you want to leave this at 100, and then turn your cinematic music volume down, and make sure you select whatever you're using for your headphones. I'm editing this in because at the time of recording, this option was disabled, but it's back now. But make sure you have enhanced headphone mode on. You don't have to buy the $20 version, just make sure you have it on. You'll hear footsteps a lot better. Audio mix, I'd recommend using headphones or Sucker Punch right now. These are the best to use until Artist War comes out with his full video. These don't really matter. Turn reduce tinnitus sound on, and then hit marker preset, I just like this on classic. Here are my voice chat settings if you want to see this, but this is all personal preference. Now let's go over to interface. These are all my interface settings. Nothing here is really too important. Just make sure skip introduction movie is on. Telemetry, a lot of this is personal preference. I just like to have my FPS, latency, and packet loss. Readability, I just turn all my subtitles off because I don't care. But color customization, click on this. Go down to your color filter settings and turn this on filter 2 with your target on both. And I like intensity on 100 for both of them. This makes the color in the game really pop. It's also a little bit easier to see other players, I think. And for my interface colors, I just use the default. However, I just turn the saturation up all the way on each one just to make the colors pop a little bit more and look better and make them easier to see. Now go to the HUD tab. For HUD bounds, I like to push this in all the way so you don't have to look as far off to the side to see the minimap. For HUD presets, I just run standard. I use a square minimap, make sure you have that. I like to turn the scale on my minimap up so that it's a lot bigger and easier to read. Make sure radar is off, make sure rotation is on, and then these can all just be left default, they don't really matter. Now crosshairs in this game, you can actually do a little bit more than you could before in other CODs. I recommend turning crosshair dot on. I like the default scale, but you can actually change your crosshair color now. I like to use a bright cyan color. The cyan and green are going to be my top 2 recommendations. The rest of the stuff doesn't really matter, just leave these on. And then account and network tab, just turn dismemberment and gore effects off. So that covers everything in game. Now I want to talk to you guys about the config file. It's easy to find, just go to your documents, Call of Duty, players, s1 cod24.txt, and then a gameplay. Here's where we're going to start changing stuff. Most of these settings we're just going to set to the lowest or off. My file will be linked down below if you just want to copy and paste it there and be done with it. So corpse limit, set that to 0, depth of field false, depth of field quality low, scroll down, limit blood true, blood interval 1, mark entities false, blood effects false, weapons eject false, and scroll down a little bit more. Bullet impacts false unless you want those on for some reason. Reflection probe lighting on 1, shadow quality off, SSR quality off, sun shadows off, sun shadows 0, tessellation 0 off. Texture filtering and texture quality, we set these in game so we don't need to worry about that. World streaming low, deferred physics low. Make sure GPU upload heaps is set to false. This is resizable bar. Scroll down a little bit more. Ambient lighting off, model quality low, particle quality very low, shadow quality very low, persistent damage layer false. Make sure you turn this one off. You don't want velocity based blur, set that to false. Shader quality low, subdivision level 0. Virtual texturing memory mode, make sure that's extra large. Volumetric quality low, water caustics off, wave wetness false, and weather grid quality off. Then scroll down just a little bit more. Most of these don't really matter, but render worker count, you want to set this to however many CPU cores you have -1. I have a Ryzen 7800 X3D, which has 8 cores, so I set it to 7. If you guys don't know how many cores your CPU has, just look it up. It'll tell you there. It's really easy to find. But that covers it for the config file. This will help your FPS a lot. Just come up here, hit file, save, and close it. You don't have to set it to read only. But yeah, that's going to cover it for today's video. Those are all the best settings for Black Ops 6. If this video helped you, if you did get better FPS, if your game does feel better, please leave a like and a comment down below. It helps the video out a lot. And be sure to subscribe if you guys want to see more helpful videos like this in the future. I hope it helped. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.